So it's school time again, kicking off the football season for this class of 2025. I got my brain food, my orange, got water, got my pencil, got my pen, got everything needed getting back to school, right? Also got my little cheat sheet. Dave Campbell's here. So it's a lot of things going down. It's a great time for San Antonio High School football because it's a lot to be excited about. There's been changes. There's a powerhouse in the city, in the state, a state powerhouse that we are looking forward to. So we're going to run down a couple of things, all right? Let's start off with the elephant in the room, Steele. Whenever anybody talks to me about San Antonio football, who is the team that you should look out for? It's going to be Steele. So they've got nine returning starters on offense, 3 returning starters on defense. So when you have a team that made it to the state semis last year, getting that experience back is going to be critical. And when you can have that be your running back, quarterback, receivers, defensive line, those are very key components for you to continue to make that run. And Coach Signs, they just seem to keep developing over there, and kids just seem to keep going over there. So it's like that's going to be that powerhouse program. And then talking with some of the players who they've got a lot of D1 talent over there, that experience last year, making it that far and having that sour taste in your mouth about not making it to state, the goal is not to just make it, it's to win state. And that is their expectation over at Steele High School. So I definitely believe that those guys are going to be focused. It's going to be fun. They're going to cherish the moment that they have, this class of 2025, because they know that they've put in a lot of work together, and that, you know, that's a school that every player who is left there, who I've been in contact with, when they graduate, they want to leave it better than they had when they were there. So I think it's going to be huge for this 2025 class to put a stamp on their mark at Steele High School. So I think you got guys like Chad Warner, Jalen Cooper, Royal Capel, Sean Robinson, just talent everywhere at that school. So I think that Steele's going to be that powerhouse. You know, last year their only loss was to Summer Creek in the state semis. So I think that that's going to be the squad that you should watch out for in San Antonio. That's going to continue to make that run and their presence felt.
Yeah, one of the other things I know you're going to get into too is district changes. There's been a lot of district changes that have affected a lot of schools. So what's happening, man?
So every 2 years, if you don't know, they do a realignment. So schools have to report their numbers of students, and then you get put into different classifications from A up to 6A, and there's even talks about there being a 7A. But so schools have to turn in those numbers, and then you get put into Division 1 or Division 2, and you might end up switching districts. There are a couple of schools who I want to make mention of who have either dropped down or switched districts. The first one I want to talk about is New Braunfels. They are making the move from 6A to 5A. And the word that I want to use for this segment and the next one is probably going to be carryover, because it's going to be important that when you have any changes, what can you keep from last year that's going to keep you being a successful program going into the next year. So we're going to talk a little bit about carryover. Yeah. So New Braunfels is moving from 6A, 29 6A, probably one of the toughest districts in San Antonio. They're moving from the Judson Steele district to 5A now. And even them being 6-5 last year, that's still a playoff team. So they went 6-5, but if I tell you that all those 5 losses were by a combined total of 27 points, no one was beating them.
Yeah.
No one was blowing them out, I should say. No one was blowing them out. And their loss to Steele was 27-14. So when you have a team that knows how to play, and they play the best team that ends up going to the state semis that close, then when you drop down a division, it's going to be expected that a program that was 6-5 with those close losses going down into what could possibly be, you don't want to say lesser, but you have a lesser pool of talent to draw from when you're in a 5A school than compared to a 6A. So you're going to be able to, or you should have that carryover of all these players having experience coming from this 2025-26 class who were key components to making that playoff run last year. So New Braunfels is going to be a team that you should watch out for in 5A as they make the move down from 6A. Another school making that same move, John Jay. And John Jay is one of those schools that traditionally you might not think that this is a good football school. But I think they changed a lot of minds with that last year. And Coach Gutierrez is a heck of a coach, and he's instilled a mentality into the Mustangs football team that I think is definitely going to carry over. Let me tell you what Jay did last year. Jay went 10-3. They had the longest playoff run in that school's history last year, and their only 3 losses were to Harlan, Brennan, and Dripping Springs. The team that beat Dripping Springs in the playoffs, Steele. Harlan won district. Brennan went 10-3. So I think people are sleeping on Brennan too. Had to sneak that in. But when you have a squad like this who's been in that Northside district and now they're going down to 5A, Coach Gutierrez has some talent and has a group of guys who have been successful. And then moving down, the same thing like I said about New Braunfels. It should carry over. If you're going to a lesser division, then you going from 6A to 5A, you should be good. And I think that John Jay is a school to watch out for in that aspect. Lastly, Alamo Heights. And this is the one that Alamo Heights has been trying to get out of the district that they were in before they even got in there, because for the sake of competition. So they were in the SAISD district of Division 2 12 5A. Now they move over to 13 5A. And they'll be playing the likes of Bernie, Vets, and Tybee, and even Harlandale. Harlandale's over there as well. So it still has some SAISD flavor. But that's a squad who, of course, has 5-star Michael Terry. And their only loss last year was to Piper in the playoffs. So that's going to be a heck of a change, as I think that they're going into a more comparable district as for the talent that they lost from last year and going into this year. But Coach Ritterman is definitely one of those guys who has instilled discipline in his squad. So I don't think there's going to be much fall off. And they're traditionally a school that's not going to, hurt themselves when it comes to playing this game of football, because he keeps them in line and they know how to execute. So I definitely expect Alamo Heights to continue their success in a new district, which is where they always wanted to be. So it wasn't a case of, we just want to be at SAISD, because if you looked at the scores, they ran it up in that district. So, but they were trying to get out of it. So it just is what it is. And now they're out of the district, excuse me. So now you're going to get a more true sense, even though the squad might not be how it was the past couple years, you're going to see exactly what Alamo Heights can do. And I'm looking forward to seeing the performance by Coach Ritterman in this district change. So that's it for Along the Wire here at Alamo City Podcast.
Yeah, so the Along the Wire segment with high school football, we're going to be bringing Bdammone back here once a week so we can go ahead and talk about the upcoming football season. And when it gets hot and heavy, you're going to let us know what the marquee matchups are, who to keep an eye on, because we have some great talent here in San Antonio.
Definitely. I just put out my top 30 list.
There you go. I retweeted it too, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. I just put out my top 30 list. There's plenty of talent. And one thing I'm gonna say in exiting is San Antonio was not under recruited or looked over. You have got to start taking advantage of the opportunities that are presented to you, and take advantage of the opportunities that others are allowing you to take their place in. There's somebody sitting down when you're standing up. There's somebody who's scared to cut in line when you can get that extra rep. So either they're helping you or they're hurting you. So for all the kids here in San Antonio, Texas, all the players who want to get a scholarship, you've got to put in that work. Nothing is going to come second to that work. And you've got to be able to put those fears and that nervousness aside and step up and take your shot.
And there you go. So you can make sure you go follow Bdammone. Just like his handle says, you can find him at Bdammone along the wire on the X and social media. Make sure you go and follow him. Coach, they both do a great job of covering high school football. So for the best high school football coverage here in the Alamo City, make sure you go and follow along the wire. So that's about all we have time for today's segment with Bdammone from Along the Wire. So this is Bdammone, and I'm Joe Garcia. We'll see you guys next week.